Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 116. Now, I'm not holding on to my microphone. I do have it very well positioned on my jacket, so hopefully it's fine. Because it's back to 0 degrees again, and I want to keep my hands warm in my gloves. Good morning. I'm having a nightmare with this episode. I'll tell you why. So last week, I recorded 3 episodes. And then I went home to edit them and schedule them. I need to edit them because sometimes I need to stop and start them when I'm out. So I need to connect those files together to make one long audio file. So I did 16, 17, 18. Went on to where I host them, a thing called Buzzsprout. I scheduled them. I uploaded them. And then I got an error message to say number 116 had an error. And the error was there was no fucking sound on it. And I had already deleted the original files directly from my microphone, which meant they didn't go to the recycle bin. So 17 and 18 are still fine. They're still scheduled. I need to re-record this, which I have tried to do on multiple occasions, but it just hasn't panned out for various reasons. I won't bore you with. But anyway, it is Thursday, the 30th of January. This episode's due to go out at midnight tonight. So at least it'll be done and dusted. Okay, so I'm still going to talk about the topic that I had in mind because I delivered a live chat to my clients last night. In case you don't know, this is something I try to do every fortnight. Real life doesn't always allow for that. I didn't do one at the start of the year, quite simply because I was so busy, which is such a wonderful thing to be able to say when you're a business owner. I've not checked this morning if anyone joined last night, but up until yesterday, 110 people had come into the Monroe Method in January, which I don't think it's a record month. It's definitely a record month or a record January since COVID, I think. Because the thing about COVID is, so prior to COVID, I had a business that was just going bananas, absolutely bananas. Part of that was because I was drastically undercharging, but part of that was also because the world wasn't saturated with coaches. I know I've spoken about this before. Yes, there were coaches online. Yes, there were fitness people and fat loss people and nutritionists. But prior to COVID, there was not anywhere near as much as there is now. I sent out an email about this the other week, how weight loss has always been a high skepticism market, always. But you were able to build trust on social media, especially when you had longevity and when you had a decent following and you were getting decent engagement. People trusted that, but now I think people have realised that followers mean nothing. People have realised that you can be an absolute nutcase and amass a following of millions. So these things don't really mean anything. Anyway, fat loss is a high skepticism market. It's very saturated because, like I said, during COVID, in case you don't understand what I meant by that, during COVID, there were obviously many personal trainers, many fitness instructors, many nutritionists who only worked face-to-face or on a gym floor. And then COVID happened and everybody was forced to pivot. So we now have all these people online. And the thing is, they weren't all great coaches. So it's not like we've all of a sudden got all these amazing coaches online. Because sadly, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, what you do, what the topic is, what the product is. There are ultimately people who are good at their job and there are people who are bad at their job. I mean, you listening to this right now, I'm sure you have people in your workplace who get paid the same money as you and do half the job that you do. Like, we all know people like that. I don't, because I only work for myself. But when I was in my last job in Marshalls, making concrete products and driving forklifts and operating machines, we were all pretty much paid the same money. In fact, there were people who had been there longer than me, who were paid more than me, and were doing half the job I was doing. But that's just life, isn't it? But then, so this is what I mean, yeah. On social media, we now have everybody online. And sadly, it wasn't just all the good coaches that came on. All somebody needs to do is come on social media and talk a good game. That's it. That's all they need to do. You know, I only have 48,000 followers, right? You'll have your own ideas around how many that is or isn't. But for me, you know, I look at people who are like, when I look at the people who are, what's the way to put this? People with extremist views on nutrition. I'm not talking about terrorists. People who have extremist views on nutrition are the ones who make the most money. So the people who are outrageous, the people who make bold claims, who make false claims, they're the ones that make the most money, because the more outrageous you are, the more false you are, the more lies you tell, the more engagement you get. Because not only do you get the people, like, people aren't, when people come on social media, especially when it comes to weight loss, they're not really looking for someone to tell them something. They're looking for someone to agree with them. So, right? So somebody already makes up their mind that they want to go low carb, or they want to cut processed foods out their diet, or they decide that seed oils are poison, or they're going to stop drinking, or they're going to stop drinking caffeine, or they want to remove all the artificial sweeteners from their life. Like, they've already made that decision. And what happens is they come on social media and maybe they've started off Googling, right? This is how it starts. They go into Google, are artificial sweeteners bad for you? Do artificial sweeteners give you cancer? What happens when you stop drinking artificial sweeteners? And then they go on to, and that logs cookies in their browser, and that data gets added to their little digital footprint. And then they go on to Instagram or TikTok or wherever. And now all these guys are popping up. Here's why artificial sweeteners are killing you. Here's why artificial sweeteners are making you fat. And all of a sudden, they're surrounded by all these things that are already agreeing with a thought that they had. And then it's buy my program, join my program, just $697 for an 8-week program, and we'll do this, do that, and you'll feel great. And this is how the world works. And I fucking hate it. I detest all the consumerism stuff. This is the kind of shit my wife listens to me moan about. I don't hate spending money. I hate the way in which we're encouraged to spend money. I hate how it's always like, here's a problem that you don't have, but I'm going to convince you have it, and then you're going to buy this thing. It drives me nuts. But and then there's people like me who are normal, who are not out to scam people, who genuinely pour hours and hours of their days, weeks and months into creating something that actually helps a person, like genuinely helps them. I would like to think that nobody has ever walked away from me having had a bad experience. Like, it's not like, okay, here you go, here's the thing, now take it and go away and deal with it yourself, right? Because I'm there every step of the way, taking people by the hand and guiding them through the process. It's a bit like imagine buying a TV and all you're left with is an instruction manual. Nobody reads the instruction manual. You probably don't know half the shit that your TV can do. However, if you bought a TV and the salesman delivered it to your house, opened it up, set it up, stayed with you, walked you through everything that it did, and then stayed with you in your house or came back to your house every day for a month just to keep teaching you how it worked, you would not have a bad experience with that TV. I've never said that before. That's a great way of looking at the way that I do things. You know, you're not just paying money, getting a plan, and then being expected to get on with it. You've got someone there every step of the way, so that when you do press the wrong button and something doesn't go right, they can say, oh, it's okay, here's all you need to do to fix it. So yeah, how did I get onto this? Oh yeah, busy month, 110 people signing up. And because the new 30-day process is quite intense, and I do more check-ins than normal within those 30 days, because it's like day 7, day 14, day 28, all within the first 30 days. It's quite intense for me as well. So yeah, back to the point. I did a live chat last night, and like I said, I didn't do one at the start of the month, partly because I was so busy, but partly because I just wanted people to get on with it at the start of the year. Let the new year stuff be your motivation. You don't need me in your ear holes or in your eyes telling you stuff until last night, until the end of the month, 29th of January, Wednesday night, 7 p.m, live inside the Monroe Method community. And we spoke about a lot of things, but it was mainly about motivation. About how, we're getting to the end of January, motivation is starting to fade. What are you going to use in February? So I don't believe in motivation, just to get that out nice and early. I'm not a believer in motivation. I mean, yes, it's a thing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't use it for anything. I'm not interested in it. I prefer to use much more stable, much more reliable, much more consistent tools to help me achieve things, rather than just sitting around waiting to see if I'm going to be motivated that day or not. So this is what I was explaining. Like I said, if 110 people have joined me, it's been throughout the month. 40 or 50 were at the start of the month, steady trickle afterwards, but they're all going to experience the same things once they've been here for a while. But when you start something new and fresh and exciting, I've never done anything like this before. People always come in like, oh yeah, I've tried calorie counting before, but this is completely different because you're actually coaching me at the same time. I'm not just using numbers or, when people calorie count on their own, they're completely dependent on an app. They just, their whole world is this app. This app is telling me to do this, so I'm going to eat this exact number. And then going into the app at night, oh, I've still got 200 calories left. I'm not hungry. I don't need to eat anything, but look, it says I've still got 200 to eat. Let's go find something for 200 calories to eat for no reason whatsoever. So yeah, if you've tried calorie counting and you've done it by yourself, it might not have gone very well. And this is why, and this is what makes it difficult for me to explain these things to the outside world. Question I get a lot, is it just calorie counting? No, it's not. Tracking your food is just a tool that we use, number one, so that we can actually track your diet. The more data you have, the more things you can look into, the more things you can understand, the more things you can change and improve. Tracking is just a tool to gather data, that's it. The problem is, most people have had a dabble in calorie counting and done it wrong, and it's had a negative effect on them. This is why people think, oh, I tried calorie counting, but I got so obsessed. It's like, yeah, because that's all you done. You just got obsessed with numbers. You didn't change anything else. You didn't focus on anything else. You didn't have any goals other than lose weight. You didn't identify anything about yourself. And if you had no idea how to change it. And then people just fall behind the obsession card because it's easy. It makes it easy to shoulder the responsibility. Oh yeah, it got too obsessive. Numbers, it makes you obsessive. It wasn't me. That's just what happens to everyone who calorie counts. Anyway, so yeah, that's, if you're somebody in the outside world listening to this, this is what makes what I do different from most things you've seen. Like all this stuff online, people trying to get you into cheap things, they don't want to talk to you. And that's another problem I have. Because I charge so little for what we do, people kind of place me in that category. 38 quid, can't be that good. £38 for a 30-day trial. Prices are such a funny thing. You think you're doing the right thing by making something affordable so people can come in and try things and see what it's like. But at the same time, you play into that skepticism thing where people think, oh, but if it's that cheap, they can't be very good. Anyway, that's my shit to deal with behind the scenes. So yeah, that's fundamentally, that's what makes what I do different from everything else. You're not just handed something and told to piss off and get on with it. You've got constant support if you need it. I'm not going to be messaging you on a daily basis, not for a few quid a month. My private clients paying 3 figures a month. Absolutely. You'll have me on WhatsApp. I'll have you on WhatsApp. I'll be finding out what you're up to and what you're getting up to, and why you've not done whatever for the last few days. That's different. It's a different level of service. You can't charge someone essentially for 1 hour of your time per month and then spend hours and hours chasing them. You get that? You understand, right? If coaching, it's a tiered thing. Generally speaking, the less you pay, the less attention you get, the more responsibility is placed on you to be the one that you reach out to get help with. Like there's a certain program that charges £50 a year and pretends you get one-to-one coaching when you absolutely do not. Like, I think about it. A professional charging people £50 a year. What's that? £4 a month? £4 something a month? Do you think for £4, someone like a professional who could charge 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds for an hour of their time is going to be giving you maximum attention? Do you think they even want to hear from you? Right? No, they do not. And then obviously you can go to the opposite end of the scale where people will charge thousands of pounds a month, or thousands of pounds for 6-month programs or 3-month programs where you get a very different level of service. It is what it is, right? Anyway, back to motivation. So last night, live with the guys, and we spoke about motivation. And if you think about it, when something's new and exciting in the beginning, you're motivated, right? You're excited, it's new. For most people, it feels easy because you like having instructions, you like having something new to do, and you also like the idea of what it's going to lead to. And when you're in that first week or two, your motivation is at its highest because you understand that weight loss does not lead to immediate results, or hopefully you do. Fat loss is something that takes time. You actually have to spend that first couple of weeks getting the fat loss process going before you actually start losing fat on the scale. Yes, the scales come down, but you drop water weight, food weight, digestive weight, bloat, retention, etc. And that helps you buy into the process. As long as you get some sort of return on your investment of effort within the first week or two, that's enough to keep you going. If your weight's the exact same after 2 weeks, that's it. You're not going to buy into it and you're not going to continue. But that initial motivation that you have when you're trying something brand new, it carries your efforts, but it won't carry them forever. And New Year acts as an amplifier. So it's, okay, I'm starting something new, but I'm not starting it in May, I'm not starting it in August or September, I'm starting it the first week in January. And that just multiplies everything by 5 or 10. And this is where people start to get carried away, and it's where I start to calm people down. When I start doing the first check-ins, we'll get to the end of week 1. I can already feel my mindset changing. This is just habit now, tracking second nature. It's like, okay, I love that you feel like that, but let's just scale that down a bit, because you're not going to change 20 years of yo-yo dieting in a week. You're not going to change 30 years of habits in a week. The mindset that you have held on to throughout your entire diet history is not just going to be gone after 7 days. I love your enthusiasm. I love that you feel like that. I love that you're thinking like that. But let's not create this, because what happens then is people do their first few check-ins. They tell you all these amazing things. And it's great because it's an indicator that they're enjoying it and things are getting better. But what happens on that day where that packet of biscuits in the cupboard looks at them the wrong way, or they don't stop at the 3 squares of chocolate they intended to, or they have that bottle of wine, then open the Pringles, then open the nuts, then get the last of the Christmas crackers and cheese out. Then their next check-in, I thought I'd beaten all this. I thought I wasn't doing this anymore. It's like, no, what happened was your motivation and excitement and novelty and all that stuff went high enough so that you didn't want to do those things. Now that that's all calming down, now that we're getting into February, you're now exposed to doing those things. And that's a good thing, because if they're not happening, we can't work on them. So what I often find is, like, when we're getting through the first month inside the Monroe method, it's great that it works this way, because the way I see it is, the one thing you have to do first and foremost is get your diet in order. If you're someone who struggles with hunger or cravings or snacking, or you're someone who grazes, you can not fix, but you can drastically improve that stuff by, first of all, taking care of your diet. Someone asked a question on the live last night. She was asking about food noise. How do you stop yourself from thinking about food all the time? Then she started talking about weight loss medications and how people say that it quietens the food noise. The way you stop thinking about food is to come at that from the opposite angle and ask yourself, why do I think about food so much? And then I went on to explain, and I think this is someone who hasn't checked in for a while. They're probably not doing the things they should be. The more imbalanced your diet is, the greater the food noise you're going to experience. Now, this is tricky because people all have their own idea of what healthy eating is. So you'll be doing whatever your version of healthy eating is, but it might not be particularly helpful. Your version of healthy eating might be not having takeaways, never eating chocolate, no crisps, no biscuits, no sugar, no whatever. And what happens, we all know what happens when you try to cut things out your diet. You only want the thing even more, or you become super miserable that you want to rebel against your diet and have a cheat day or a binge day. So there is no straightforward answer to this because it is very complex. But if you are someone who thinks about food a lot, then the first point to start is getting to the bottom of why you think about food so much. And like I said, the first port of call for me working with people is get your diet in order. Make sure you are eating enough protein so that you are not hungry, so that your energy levels are well managed, so that your health is supported, your immune system supported. Make sure that you are eating enough fibre from fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and legumes and cereals and breads and whatever, so that your hunger levels are supported, but also your energy levels are well balanced. Your blood sugar levels are well maintained. Because if you leave yourself, people who don't eat fruit and vegetables, their blood sugar tends to spike and crash more severely. And when it crashes, that's when you get the intense cravings. And if you're someone who struggles with food noise, what is one thing you do not want to put yourself in the position of? You don't want to be causing cravings. So it's all connected. If you get your diet nailed first, make sure you are eating enough protein. Make sure you are eating enough fibre. Make sure that your eating is well spread out throughout the day. You're not overexposing yourself to hunger by trying to fast or restrict your calories so that you can have more during the week or any of that stuff. Good boy. Had to tell him he was a good boy there because yesterday they both got in big trouble at this bit for running away. And the two of them did just run away, but they came straight back. So that's why he's getting praised. So yeah. And now my other dog has been very cagey because she knows she ran away and she knows she got a row yesterday. Good girl. Good girl coming back. Dogs, honestly, it's just like having another two kids. So yeah. Get your hunger. Yes, not your hunger. Get your eating habits. Get your diet. Maybe not your eating habits. Get your diet under control first and foremost. Think of it this way, right? If you have an imbalanced diet, you might think about food 60 times a day. And you might respond to those thoughts 50% of the time, right? So let's say you have 60 food thoughts per day, and out of those 60, you eat on 30 occasions. Your food noise is constant, your cravings are constant, and it's because you're restricting, you're trying to hold yourself back, you've got a terrible relationship with food, you graze all day, you don't prioritize meals, and when you do have a meal, there's no vegetables on the plate, there's barely any protein, your diet's chaotic, and your chaotic diet is causing a lot of the food noise. So, get your diet well balanced first. That's not going to solve everything. You'll still have food noise. You'll probably still have cravings. You'll still have food thoughts. But now, because your diet is well balanced, because your energy levels are much better, because you're not feeling bloated and sluggish and rubbish, because you're eating enough protein to keep you full and satisfied throughout the day, it's carrying you between meals, you're eating enough fibre and it's doing a similar job, but getting all the nutrients from the fibre is making you feel better. It's helping you manage your blood sugar better, regulate your energy levels so you're not getting big massive peaks where you get all the energy at once, and then big crashes where you've got no energy, and then you get sugar cravings. Once you've done that, you might think about food 30 times a day now. And you still respond 50% of the time, but you eat 15 times. Now that might still sound like a lot, but when I say 15 times, right, that could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, a couple of snacks, and it could be eating a couple of chocolates, or a biscuit with your tea, or picking at the kids' leftovers, or snacking as you're cooking dinner. That's what I mean. Moments where you find yourself reaching for something and putting food in your mouth. So it's went from, now you've only thought about food 30 times a day, now you've reached for it 15. Then we can start looking at things to make it even better, like meal planning. I know what I'm having for dinner every night this week except Saturday because we'll decide on the day where we're getting a takeaway from. I do not need to think about my dinners at all, ever, apart from a Saturday when I stand with my whiteboard after going to Aldi, because I do it backwards. I go to Aldi. Some people can't do this, some people can. Like, I encourage people to write the meal plan, then write the shopping list, especially when it's something they're not used to doing. I do it backwards. I go to Aldi, buy what I feel like eating, then I write the meal plan when I come home and put all this stuff away. On Sunday, that is done in the space of 5 minutes. The little mini whiteboard goes in the kitchen. Everybody knows what's for dinner that night. And all I need to do when I stop working, go through to the kitchen, look at the whiteboard. Tuesday, katsu curry, sorted. Cook it. Whereas people who do not plan any of their eating at all spend the entire day thinking about what to eat. You rushed out the door to get to work, you didn't have any breakfast, now you're starving and it's 10 a.m, so you start picking at the biscuits in the staff room, or going to the vending machine to get crisps and a chocolate bar and a can of juice. Then it gets to lunchtime, you didn't bring anything with you, so it's okay, well, what's everybody doing for lunch? You going to McDonald's? I'll just come with you. And then you spend your whole morning getting hungrier and hungrier, watching the clock as it counts down, thinking about food. People think food noise is something that happens to them. Why do I think about food more than other people? It's not something that happens to you. Your brain is not forcing you to think about food. You're making yourself think about food because of the way that you do things. You know, I'm a nutritionist. I talk to people about food all day, every day. I know many nutritionists who, well, I don't know many. I'm aware of many. And when I was doing my nutritionist course, I was aware of many nutritionists who struggle with their own weight, who struggle with their own eating habits. I've got friends who coaches, especially personal trainers. Like their business is that they do work with some general population clients, but for the most part, they coaches. You know, if I had eating issues going on, I would go and work with them for them to help me work on my issues. But point there was, I'm a nutritionist. I talk about food all day, every day, multiple times per day. I did 16 check-ins yesterday. So that's 16 check-ins where I am talking to people, maybe not all the time about food, because it might not always come up, but you're talking to people about their eating habits, you're making eating suggestions, you're talking about meals, you're talking about snacks. They're talking to you about chocolate and crisps and desserts and the things that they're eating. If I didn't have a well-balanced diet, if I didn't take care of my eating the way that I did, how many times would I think about food in a day? I would be getting up after every check-in and going to my kitchen to find something to eat. That person mentioned biscuits. I could really go a biscuit right now. I'm going to go get a couple of biscuits. Actually, while I'm here, I'm just going to eat more and more. Do you know what I mean? So we need to take care of our diet to quieten the food noise as a start point. That does not mean to say it's going to solve it. It's not going to go away entirely. But how much easier? I mean, here's a good example. If you've ever went to the supermarket on an empty stomach, how likely are you to buy a bunch of crap? Like, crap as in stuff you don't need. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. That sounds nice. Everything looks, sounds, feels, smells better when your tummy is empty. Versus going to the supermarket on a full stomach, where you will do a very sensible shop, where things don't look as attractive because you've still got that full feeling in your stomach. Do you know what? I'm not going to pick that extra thing up that I don't really need because it's making me feel a bit horrible right now. Whereas that bag of cookies or those cakes or those sweets might look less attractive, more attractive when you're very hungry. And it's the same principle here. If you are trying to improve your eating habits, if you're trying to improve your emotional eating or your stress eating, you're trying to improve your relationship with food, you're trying to get cravings under control, all this stuff, is that going to be easier or harder to do with lots of food noise? So, this was an absolute mixed bag of an episode. I did not talk about the thing I was going to talk about. I'll figure out what I'm going to call it. But hopefully there's been something helpful in it. Yeah. Start point is always... I've only really realised this month for some reason. Maybe not only realised it, I've only started talking about it as a concept, but everything starts with... But I mean, think about it from a financial perspective, right? If you're someone whose finances are in a mess, what are the options? Do you go... Like, you could go and get a consolidate. Let's say you've got multiple credit cards, store cards, and a loan, and, I don't know, a couple of things on finance. And it's starting to feel a bit out of control. You don't know what to do about it. Your spending habits are all over the place. You could take the easy option, go and get a consolidation loan, pay all the things off, and bring them down into one single payment. And that might feel less overwhelming, less unrealistic, like there is actually an end in sight. But you can't just do the consolidation loan, because remember, what was the problem? The problem was your spending was out of control. So sure, you can get the loan, but if you don't fix your spending, then you get that first store card, then you get that first credit card, then you're back in your overdraft. So you have to take care of the source first, not the end product. And again, this just circles back to weight. You know, the consolidation loan is like people just trying to make the number come down on the scale. They're trying to reduce their weight, but they're not trying to change the reasons their weight got there. And you can just apply that to your eating habits. You know, you want to change your weight, you want to change your eating habits, but that's going to be very difficult. Do you know, actually, the consolidation loan is a bit like taking the pressure off so you can work on the other things. Which I guess is like, you know, balancing your diet, quietens the food noise, takes the pressure off, and then it allows you, it frees up more of you to work on things. Anyway, that is enough from me. Until next time.